Welcome to Jasper's Game Week on Hearthsinger Games. I'm your host, Ann Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge round these parts, and my Twitch and YouTube channels provide weekly TTRPG content with advice, news, and actual plays. You might also know me from the Lost Mountain Saga podcast, my work with the Glass Cannon Network, or the Starfound podcast. May 8th through 10th, I'm partnering with Paizo and awesome folks from all around the tabletop RPG community to bring you 4 incredible Pathfinder and Starfinder stories each day from noon to 1:30 a.m. Eastern, all in support of an amazing cause. Jasper's Game Day is a 501c3 charity that supports suicide prevention and awareness efforts. And their goal is to invest your donations in services that work to prevent suicide before it happens, rather than simply responding to the devastating aftermath. In the past, they have mobilized donations to support the American Association of Suicidology. They've rescued a teen suicide hotline that was going to have to shut its doors. They've donated to Lighthouse for Veterans and a crisis center with a focus on assisting minorities and girls at risk in the DC area. And starting now, we'll be raising donations for Jasper's Game Day at the address on the screen right here until May 11th. So please give generously if you're able to and help to spread the word. Here on my channel, I will be hosting some amazing storytellers for 3 days straight. You'll enjoy killer combos of all of your favorite players and game masters from Actual Play podcast and Twitch streams, joined by our auction seat winners who have already supported Jasper's Game Day with thousands of dollars in donations just for the opportunity to join the fray. You'll even find me running and playing a few games myself. So make sure to give me a follow on Twitch to support content like this being made in the future. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can explore the VODs for any games you might have missed during the event. You guys didn't think I was going to send you on a quest without offering you some fat loot in return. Why am I becoming a Skeksis? I've been working my little butt off to make sure that there will be plenty of chances for you out there watching to win giveaways during every show. There will be beginner box giveaways for Starfinder and Pathfinder from Paizo to help you tell your own stories at home. There will be STL vouchers from my friends over at Eldritch Foundry to help you bring your own characters to life as stunning customized miniatures, and Acquisitions Incorporated currency tokens from the awesome folks over at Penny Arcade. So tune in for your chance to win and spread the word. So thank you for joining us for this important and joyful celebration of the good we can do when we play together. Now get out there and live your quest life. Bye! Hey everybody, welcome on into the chat. I'm Ann Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge around these parts. And today we are doing another awesome recording of Around the Hearth, which I've just now realized I didn't change the title for the stream. So it says we're exploring Eldritch Foundry, but we're not. We're having a debate. A huge ass debate. So I guess something about me is that I'm really going through it right now because I'm preparing for Jasper's Game Day, which you just saw the little short about. So I hope you guys will come here for the next 3 days from noon Eastern onward throughout the day. There'll be 4 different games, Pathfinder and Starfinder games all weekend long and on Monday. So it's not to be missed. We're raising money for Jasper's Game Day, which is amazing work, providing different organizations with the funds they need to stay open and to serve their communities with services that provide suicide prevention and awareness. So please give generously if you come by this weekend. And if you can't, just being here means the world. Means the world to me. I've been working on the event for a really long time. But I want to move past that. I want to move on to my friends and get a little bit of an introduction to my co-hosts. Emily, kick us off while I fix the title of the show.
Smooth.
Smooth jazz.
Yeah, hi, I'm Emily, otherwise known as Emily the Spoon. I feel like you normally will ask us to, like, we normally chat a little bit about like what's going on in our lives right
How
now.
was your week, Emily?
Yeah,
thank
well,
you,
how
thank you.
was your week,
Yeah,
Emily?
how
I
was your
need a
week?
prompt. I'm looking
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like a scene partner.
Yeah, what's going on? How are you
God.
feeling? How's your
She's-
energy?
She's so focused on changing the title. She's
Yeah,
like, not even
yeah.
giving me.
And it's not even changed yet.
Maybe if you weren't making me so anxious, it would be changed.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Yeah, how was your day?
I'm the director of licensing over at Roll20. We've had a staff retreat this week, a virtual staff retreat because there hasn't been a physical staff retreat at Roll20 in 2 years now, and we're looking forward to the time where it can be like a personal, in-person, physical staff retreat. But in the meantime, it was actually pretty fun. Playing escape rooms via Zoom and like trivia contests, and we use this thing called Gather.town. I don't know if you have ever heard of it, but it's like, Anne, do you know? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, it looks
No,
fascinating.
I
Let me
haven't.
just
What
say.
is it?
It's called Gather.town, and I don't actually know what it is like in general. I think you can build the space, but it's like a virtual space. For us, it was built out like an isometric, like old school RPG kind of a thing, and everybody makes their avatar, and you can walk around in the space, and then like your webcam and microphone are proximity based, depending on
Oh,
who
that's
you're standing
cool.
near. So like, when for us we entered it, it's like a big picnic garden, and you could go find a blanket, and then basically whoever you sit next to is who you get to like see and talk to.
Wait. So it doesn't always look like Final Fantasy IV?
I don't know what it looks like
Okay.
other than the one time I've used
Because it looked like their avatars were all like old school, like 8-bit Final Fantasy style characters.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of that was like unique to my experience, or if it's always like that. Like, I haven't used enough to know, but it was very cool. It kind of like gave a almost like we were in person feel to things, and was a little bit more unique than just using like a Zoom room for everything.
Totally.
But yeah, and then also it's my birthday this week, so
Yay!
pretty good week, all things considered.
You are, I think, the only friend I have whose birthday I can remember without Facebook because it's Star Wars Day.
It's a pretty memorable day. In fact,
Like, it's really helpful.
I think it's more common for people, like, people will go, oh, that's right, you're the May the 4th person. Like, people remember that they have a friend that's got the Star Wars birthday and don't always connect that it's me. But my mom did forget my birthday once when I was in college, but she's not a big Star Wars fan, so...
Well, that's where I have the edge, frankly, on your mother. Hey, Sheila, if you're watching, you're probably not, but if you were,
she might be, but she's almost definitely not.
Who can say where the mother goes to the Twitch stream? You're like, please stop.
Actually,
yeah,
I can tell a quick Emily's mom story.
I'm ready.
Oh, it's a good one.
Sheila, no.
No, this one I'm going to tell is that I was on the phone with my mom. For those of you following along at home, my mom is like one of Anne's biggest fans on Twitter. She's Anne.
I can always count on that solid retweet.
Anne is
Tweet quote.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She
quote
doesn't know
tweet.
how to
It's
retweet.
usually she thinks that a quote tweet is how you reply to a tweet. She doesn't know what a comment is.
So she loves to like check it. Like, when we have phone conversations, like 30% of our conversations are her either asking me for additional details about a thing Anne has tweeted, or communicating to me a portion of Anne's life that she thinks I don't know yet because she saw it on Twitter.
Have you heard this?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you heard about this?
So the other day she was telling me all about how Anne was having some rough times because people are like talk to her on the street while she's walking her dog. And
welcome to womanhood in the city.
My mom literally was like, I knew that was going to be a thing. I mean, the dog is so pretty and Anne is so pretty. And I feared that it was going to happen. I really did. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know that, like, I think Anne has had to deal with her fair share of people saying things to her on the street. And she's like, yeah, but you got to tell Anne, like, when it goes away, you really miss it. So just tell her to appreciate it while she's got it.
Well, it's funny
Appreciate those cat
because
calls while you get them.
she did reply to my tweet about just to like be very clear about what happened. I tried to go to the park with my dog, and this is related to our topic, to listen to Critical Role and catch up on good seg, Emily. To listen to Critical Role and catch up on things. And I was like, what if I did this in the sunshine? That would be nice. It's beautiful weather, and I went there with my dog, and I'm sitting on a park bench, and this guy comes up and he wants to like pet my dog, and I have no problem with that. Like, anyone who wants to enjoy my dog and play with my dog, it like is exciting for him. He loves it. People like him. There are people in my neighborhood who are friends with my dog who I'm not really friends with, which is great. And, you know, I think it's fine. But it's the lingering conversation afterwards when I have clearly like been sitting on the grass with my headphones in or something like that drives me up the wall. And it usually turns, it's that classic catcall thing where it turns angry when you are like, okay, well, this interaction is at an end.
I'm done sitting here and allowing you to literally say whatever you want to me.
And it happened. So, and I mean, just I'm pretty open about things on the channel, but I've been struggling with some mild agoraphobia throughout like the like progression of the pandemic. So getting out with my dog is like really big for me. But I don't necessarily want it to cause me to have to interact with people that make me uncomfortable. I mean, nobody wants that, right? But yeah, so it was like super triggering that I had, you know, really gotten myself out there for like an extended period of time, and then had multiple people just come and basically verbally harass me throughout the day. And just not leave me alone. And when I tried to get away, they would like follow me, or then another person would find me. So it just wasn't fun. But it was really funny because your mom replied or quote tweeted. I'm sorry, she doesn't reply to anything. She quote tweeted my tweet about it, which is basically me just subtweeting the whole affair, being like, I guess I can't just have a nice day because people will ruin it. And she quote tweeted it being like, I knew you were going to get attention from guys when you got that dog. And I was like, Sheila,
you're just so pretty. And the dog is so pretty.
It's so true.
Sheila, are you trying to say that
true.
Ant's asking for it? Because I need you to pump your brakes.
Master Dragon, thank you for that gamer gulp. Don't mind if I do, because those boys be thirsty. Chris, how was your week?
Oh, good, I guess. My PlayStation 5 keeps crashing, and that sucks.
Oh no. Yeah. It's not what you want.
No, I'm just trying to play Returnal, and I don't know if the game is messed up or my PlayStation 5 is messed up, but like, it's just been a drag. That is, and you know, and it was Emily's birthday, so that was oh my God, we went to this place called Sweet Chick in Williamsburg. I've never been.
It sounds like what I look like when I'm sitting outside with my dog.
Okay. It's a chicken and waffles place, and it's immaculate. And Emily got this like honey barbecue.
I'm in.
What was it?
Honey garlic chicken with a vanilla glazed waffle.
Mm-hmm. And it was so flavorful. Like, I didn't know what to do about it.
That's flavor country right there.
I was in Flavor Town.
Your first vacay. Of the pandemic to Flavor Town.
It was a good time.
Incredible. Well, that's great. Well, let's get back to the topic, because I think the thing we're all here to discuss is something that I think a lot of people have opinions on and we're going to come out, I think, with some pretty strong opinions on this, probably in this group of people for the sake of content. But also just know that your fun isn't wrong. If you love actual play stuff, if you don't love it, like, whatever you do to enjoy your hobby is perfectly fine. These are just our opinions, and your mileage will vary. So with that being said, let's roast. No, I'm kidding. The first question on the agenda for today, in my notes that I made, is
sorry, let me just consult these real quick.
Yeah. How do you feel about actual play games for the two of you? And well, let's just start there. How do you feel about consuming them?
Am I going first, or you go first?
Go first.
Who talks first? Do I talk first?
I'm gonna be over here with my putty.
I got putty too. I got putty too.
Why do you have putty?
Because
wait, what's happening?
It's great.
I have putty because it was included in our Roll20 retreat swag bag.
And this Around the Hearth, sponsored by Roll20's staff retreat.
I have putty because I was I had it before it was cool.
Like, look how cute this is. I know that that's not what we're here to talk about, but like,
I was like, whoa, they printed on the putty because I looked away for a
No.
second and then looked back. And I don't think that's
What
the
happened
case.
is that I was going to talk first, so Emily found an
So
excuse to talk about
cute.
something else.
Please,
Go-
please
Wow.
go.
Go ahead. You can go
That
first.
was
You can go first.
no, Chris, please.
Okay.
You've taken the floor.
I have. So I'll just say I just thought about this just now, and I think it rings true. Is that I think it's a different food, right? Like actual plays are a different kind of thing than actually playing Dungeons and Dragons, because
Mhm.
like I know that there is a fair amount of it is real, but like also to a certain extent it's sort of like professional wrestling, where like they are there to entertain first and foremost, and then to play a game second, right? And so to
Yeah.
a certain extent, it has to be partially fabricated, partially dramatic. Like we're here always comparing Dungeons and Dragons to improv theater. Well, it's
Mhm.
actually improv theater that
Yeah.
these people are doing, and you know, much like New York and Chicago style deep dish, it's just two different foods, you know,
Mhm.
when it comes to pizza. But yeah, I think that there's a benefit of them. Clearly, Critical Role has done, and other actual plays have done infinite work to the benefit of this community, getting so many more people into
Mhm.
the hobby, and this, that, and the other thing. But I think that to enjoy actual plays for the reasons that I just kind of stated, as just kind of like improv theater that takes place in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, uh, is one way. But to sort of consume it and then imagine that that's what your first Dungeons and Dragons game is going to be like, I think is
Mhm.
sort of detrimental to the hobby, because that's something I'm sure we'll get into later. But I
Yeah.
have strong feelings about the influence of actual plays on the expectations of people who are new to the hobby.
Interesting. So you are definitely that camp, and I'm going to use a term that I hate, and I think we should find another name for. But the Mercer effect is what a redditor called
Yeah.
that sort of reality for DMs, and I personally will just say that I've never experienced it. Like I've definitely experienced people who wanted to play because they had seen Critical Role, or because they've seen Dimension 20, or because they've watched Glass Cannon, or whatever the case may be for whatever system they're
Hashtag sponsored.
enjoying. Hashtag sponsored, but not. They they I think the key is that I've never felt unfair expectations placed upon me because someone else watched a show. But I know that it must happen because so many people talk about it. But I also do think that it feeds into what I will call like the dungeon master effect, which is just that a lot of dungeon masters constantly believe that no matter what they do, it's not good enough, or it's not entertaining enough.
Yeah, that's
so
100%
looking
the thing.
for a place to put that, in this case, a person who has succeeded, quote unquote, at doing this week after week, is kind of an excuse in a lot of ways. But I will say that's my opinion. So have you ever had can you point to a particular, please approach the stand and say,
case.
and make your case. Have you had that happen to a particular time?
Well, I will say that the reason I didn't bring up the Mercer effect specifically is because I've never experienced it either. Granted, not to say that correlation is causation or anything, but the main reason I think I've been able to avoid that sort of thing up to this point is I have never played with a new player who was a fan of something akin to Critical Role first, and then tried the hobby as an after effect. Every person that I've introduced to Dungeons and Dragons either didn't watch the show or any actual plays for that matter, or you know what I mean? I had no fans first, players later, people that I introduced to the hobby. That being my perception of that phenomenon is entirely based around listening to other people talk about their experiences at the table. Like going to conventions and sitting around and sharing stories and having people tell me about these wild, bombastic situations that they went through that, to me, frankly, don't sound entirely fun, but make for a
Right.
cool story, or someone talking about how they played at a particular game and either their expectations were either let down because they weren't similar to
Mm-hmm.
an actual play, or were met because it was very similar to something that they'd experienced. But once again,
Yeah.
all of my experience with that particular phenomenon is secondhand.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so let me ask you, Emily. Have you found, because I know that you primarily play. Do you find that in the games that you're in, that players that in terms of like interpersonal character relationships, like players place that same expectation on you at the table to like deliver super committed improvisational theater fun to them?
Do you mean in the games where I'm not playing like live for an audience?
Yes, that's a great let's put that out there because we're going to talk about it from that. I have questions about that for sure as well, but hobby games.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, I think I'm really fortunate to really only play with people who would never put that expectation on me and who like recognize
Mm-hmm.
that the hobby game playing in my living room is a different experience from like what folks tuning in on,
Yeah.
you know, Q times or whatever are going to watch.
Yeah.
Uh so I guess the answer to your question is no. I would say like if we scope back out to the original like question or topic, um the my personal opinion is perhaps controversial, but I am in a couple of actual plays, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and as a um there's obviously a great community built around them and a lot of joy in the
Mm-hmm.
people that are fans of them and participate in them, and I don't knock that whatsoever. And
Yeah.
also as a licensing professional in the tabletop industry, actual plays are the new uh you know, like liner notes, like they're the new instruction
Yeah.
manuals. It's how people learn how to play
It's how they can
games.
decide if a game is right for them before investing. It's not even necessarily the, $30 to $50 in a book or set of books, or I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times more than that. But it's the fact that it's the time
Mm-hmm.
of, is this system going to be something I enjoy?
Yeah. So I appreciate that for all that they are. For me, as a person selecting the
Mm-hmm.
entertainment that I enjoy,
Yeah,
actual plays are never a thing that I watch. And
totally.
it's like, it's just that for me, I I have a hard time. Like, I've never been a sports fan, and I feel like it's a similar thing where when I'm watching other people do the thing, I feel like I'll just have more fun if I'm doing the thing.
Do you do
it's
you
so
feel
funny that
that
you brought
way
up.
when you watch theater?
No, although I do see plenty of theater where I'm like, this would be
Yeah,
really, you know, you have that sensation of being like, I'd love to
right.
play that role, or this would be so cool if I was in
Sure.
this production.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just because for me, I'm like, actual plays aren't great tutorials for me because I'm not really an auditory learner. So I try really
Right.
hard to like listen and pay attention, but like it's just not a way that I'm absorbing the information. I'd be much better at reading the rule book. And
Yeah.
honestly, top tier would be playing the game is how I learn the game the best.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not like we have so much time in the world, so like such
Mm-hmm.
limited time in the world, I guess I should say, so we all get to choose how we spend those
Yeah.
hours for our entertainment, and it's just not my preferred style of engaging in entertainment.
Well, I was gonna say, we've had this conversation a bunch of times about like, I'll be like, oh my god, like, I wish you guys would watch this, or I wish you'd, give it a chance. But I also understand that it's so much of a time commitment, and I, as a person, am prone to obsession, so I don't mind finding a
You
show. Me? What? I don't mind finding a show and just really sinking my teeth into it, and um there are times where I don't have as much like emotional energy or literal time energy to invest in the games, and then I get like behind, and then I have to watch like 12 hours of content, and like I can only imagine, because that seems like a hill for me to climb, like if I get 3 to 5 episodes behind on Critical Role, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to catch up. If I were starting from the beginning on either of those campaigns, it's so intimidating to even start on. But for me, just to give kind of a counter to what Emily and Chris have voiced, like I love actual play content. And there was a time where I wasn't really watching TV shows because I was watching Dimension 20, and I was watching Critical Role, and I was watching Acquisitions Incorporated C Team. And much to our Maria Cosplay's point in chat, that every group has their own style and vibe. What I love about actual plays is finding people with different styles and vibes. And generally, I think that is the best thing to come out of the inspiration that Critical Role has kind of paved the way for, is that there's so many people who have so many stories to tell. And while I don't think that watching actual play content will make you a better player, I think exposing yourself to a diverse style of experiences can. And you can also learn a lot about what you wouldn't want at a table by watching actual play content.
That's very true.
Because I'll see things happen and I'll be like, man, that seemed really rough. Or like, I would not be able to play with somebody whose energy was like X's energy in this game that I saw. Or I would never want to do that to people as a dungeon master. Or there are lots of things you can learn if you're looking to learn. Some people just want to be entertained in that, and that's okay too. So the short answer to the question, which kind of addresses what Know It All Sagai has said in the chat, which is with actual plays you have a spectrum of games, right? So you have a spectrum of different games, and each of them delivers differently to the table. And I feel like for me, there are just tables that aren't for me, right? The same way that any show might not be for somebody.
I was going to comment, if I may.
Yeah, please.
It's as we've been talking about this also made me realize that my perspective is maybe just not the best on it, because there's also different levels of actual play. Like I find something like akin to Critical Role to be like high theater of actual plays. You know what I mean? Like the intensity and the theatrics of that, the sheer size of that production. Is like a whole different thing than like watching an actual play of this new board game that's coming out because you want to see them play it. Like watching like a 3-hour video of them playing this board game, or digging into this new rule book just to play around with the options. Like an actual play is like a tutorial or a demo, is also like a different thing. I support that 100%. I don't, just to be clear, I don't like not support Critical Role. It's very intense for me. And it's also because I've only ever watched like just a small handful of things here and there when it comes to Critical Role. And I'll just never forget when I did the math, and it was like it was like literal months of end-to-end time to watch every.
And you have a hard time committing hobby time to things anyways, because you always feel like there's FOMO.
I already have,
I don't mean to speak for you.
No, I already have decision paralysis on what to best spend my time on.
Yeah.
So being like, how about you watch literally thousands of hours worth of this thing just to be part of the conversation of this fandom? And I wish I was like, I just don't have that. I don't have that kind of mental space.
Let me pose a question to you, Emily, and I certainly have opinions on it myself, but I want to hear from you first, which is that when you are in an actual play situation, like when you are on a cast, do you think at all when you're doing it about whether or not this is going to serve the audience in terms of their ability to pick up a game, or serve the audience because you want to model what a positive table experience is like? Is that in your mind at all, or are you just doing what you do?
I think in terms of the teaching someone the game mechanics, or being transparent with the game mechanics, that really boils down to what the stream that I'm on is. Like if it's set up that way, definitely. I think a good example there is the initial run of the World of Darkness ongoing campaign where we did Vampire. The intent was literally to teach us Vampire. So that does, yes, lead to more transparently asking for rules clarifications, or actively talking about, okay, so what I'd like to do is this, and so for my character that I think I'm gonna roll this, and like, you know, talking that out so that the folks watching can follow along. That being said, that element shifted off of that particular series of actual plays, because I think a large portion of the audience for that show are big World of Darkness fans, who have, many of whom have played
right.
a lot of those games, or have played most of them and are interested in just kind of seeing the feel or the style of one of the other games in the series. So I think for me, when I'm doing an actual play, again, it's going to vary based on what it feels like the goal of the stream is, or the audience of the stream is. But I'm always much more focused on the storytelling than the rule set. Like, I'm much more focused on making decisions as in a character that will drive the story forward, or will give opportunity for either the GM and or the other players to have the thing happen that it, like, that I feel we're building to happen, toward. Yeah. And also on demonstrating like good group dynamics, like in the same way that you do as an improv actor, of just like trying to be a giving scene partner, and also like knowing when to pull back and stop talking to let someone else have the spotlight. And I'm always focused on those dynamics and on trying to put on a good show, more so than I am on being like a good mage player, because I'll let all of us here in on a little secret. I'm not a very good player at these games. Like, I don't, if you asked me to sum up the rules of any World of Darkness game for you,
it would be rough.
I would not do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
The rules have not been my focus. And that is a very poorly kept secret. But at the end of the day, though, the more entertaining aspects and the storytelling driving aspects of what we're doing are always the focus for me.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that, you know, at least with Starfound, which is the Starfinder actual play that I was on for, I guess I'm still on it because we're doing a final season here soon. But the end of our show was often focused on talkbacks with each other about how we felt the show went, because we did want to model the behavior that, like, packing up your books and leaving right after the game. Sometimes everyone needs a little bit of aftercare to talk about like what happened, and your DM needs to know like, hey, I really liked this thing, because like it's really easy to feel like, is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see? 1776. It's a great musical. Anyways, but yeah. So it's important to have those conversations, and also to be able to voice like, hey, when this happened, it was kind of uncomfortable for me. If that's something they felt, you know, if that was something that people felt comfortable talking about on camera, we would talk on the break if there was something like that, and see if people were willing to talk about it then, or if they wanted to save it till after the cameras were off. But I think that in that way, I did think about how I wanted to like be the change I wanted to see at some tables in the world. But I also, again, don't think it's, I mean, just to sum up, like you, when I'm in the game, I'm thinking about, you know, how I can help other people through getting hung up on rules. If I can look up a rule for the DM so they can focus on storytelling or things like that, I'm definitely thinking more about being helpful in that way in an actual play scenario when I'm on those streams than when I'm just like at a table playing with friends, because you want things to like move forward. But yeah, the modeled behavior and the, you know, making people better players or better members of the community is really just, you know, be the change you want to see. And it is on my mind sometimes, but it's not the main focus, I would say. Okay, other questions that I had. Well, first of all, let's read some stuff in chat. And if you guys have questions about this that you want to hear opinions on, please put things in here. Armaria says, I found my personal play style by picking up a few things from actual plays and from other people I've played with. Good examples are so helpful. And Know It All says, as someone who's consumed a fair amount of actual plays, I would say it has not made me a better player per se, but it has made me a better GM.
I think in both of those, in response to both of those statements,
Yeah.
What an interesting, what a time to be alive.
I
Because
know.
in the past, I
Right.
feel like if you wanted to get into an RPG, if you wanted to pick up D&D, for example, you would need to know somebody
You
who
gotta know a
played it,
guy.
and you would be stuck with this is kind of a theme that's come up in a couple of our around the hearth chats, but like you'd be stuck with the group that was in proximity to you and that had the books. Like you wouldn't really get to
Yeah.
choose whom you were playing with, or how you were playing. And I think now, especially because of how popular actual plays have become, folks have the opportunity to see other play styles out there. And like even if they are in a situation where they are in a group where they don't like the play style or they don't like the GM, they can watch other versions and be like, oh, I can identify what I don't like and what I do like, and understand that I need to go find a group. I either need to talk to my group about my needs and my desires, or I need to go find a group who's going to sync with my play style. And that's like an empowerment that many gamers didn't have. And I think that's probably why we see such like an amazing representation of like, you know, marginalized groups really big in the actual play scene, because it's empowered so many people to like stand up for the kinds of games they want to play, the characters they want to play, and the play styles they want to embrace, and to show each other like, yeah, we can do this. We don't just have to do what the person down the street with the D&D books is making us do.
Man, I feel like a group for making it seem like I don't like actual play.
I also wanted to point out to Armaria's point, and this is something that I feel like maybe you guys might have thoughts on as well. What that brings to mind when it comes to taking cues from people as to like the type of player, the type of style of play that you like. I, for a long time, and still to an extent, have been a hotchizity type of player. I played small things that were loud and sometimes obnoxious, but mostly I just wanted to make my friends laugh. And, you know, I think there are certain archetypes that you get ingrained into, whether you're a performer and you get typecast, or you're typecast within your group of friends because they always exist around you in the same way. And so when I started watching, you know, C Team and seeing the way that they sort of talked with each other and negotiated around various rules, that really taught me that I could have like a conversational relationship with a dungeon master about like, well, let's figure out how I do what I do, you know, and not like, well, this says I could do what I do, so I should be able to, you know what I mean? Like it can be a conversation, was what that kind of taught me, and I think made me have more fun. I won't say be a better player. It just made me have more fun in that relationship. But also on the characterization side of things, you know, people like Sam Riegel on Critical Role, who is, you know, bombastic and loud and very funny, has had some very real, very striking emotional scenes, and seeing how fine they are with, you know, really attacking the emotional drives and objectives of their characters, which is what I think gives the show a lot of its kind of cinematic legs, beyond what Matthew Mercer sets up for them. That made me want to find other people who wanted to investigate characters on that level, and not just be like, I farted fire on a dragon. Nah. Like that's just not what I'm interested in. If it's what people are interested in, like if 3 goblins in a trench coat like robbing a town is what you're interested in, go for it. It's just not what I want particularly, and that's also fine. So those are kind of my thoughts about it. I don't think it's helpful to like just be like, I'm gonna be, you know, Jim Dark Magic in my game. I'm gonna play somebody else's character. I don't think that's really helpful. But it can be to see how people go about characterization.
Well, and on the flip side of that too, I feel like when you first took me to see Acquisitions Incorporated,
You're welcome, by the way. Okay.
Because interestingly enough, that is an actual play that I am a fan of. However, in keeping with my bizarre like approach to these things, I have only ever watched it live in the theater at past shows.
It's different
I've
energy.
never like tuned in to see Team like a couple of times here or there, and I've never like caught up on a PAX that I missed, so I had to watch the live show that I wasn't there for, because again, I have like a serious problem for some reason, like just sitting down to YouTube for a couple hours. It's just not a thing that I can do. But
oh, sweet summertime.
but that being said, like the reason why I think Ack Inc. appealed to me so much is it, like we're talking so much about how actual plays can give you guidance of like how like play styles you might want to adopt, or like ways to play characters that you want to play with, or the kinds of campaigns that you want to have, ideas that you get as a GM, etc., etc. When we saw Acquisitions Incorporated, it was funny and entertaining as hell, but also it looked so much like our table compared to everything else like that, like compared to any other actual play I'd seen. So on the flip side of the like learning a new thing, it was also incredibly validating to see other people playing RPGs in the kind of like half serious, half tongue-in-cheek, pop culture referencey, like that the vibe of the playstyle very much seemed to replicate what like our table was doing, you know.
They have a very approachable vibe.
Yeah.
It was very validating.
It felt very validating to like see when you see, oh, other people play how I play. Not that I ever like thought that our fun was wrong, but it's nice to experience that, you know.
For sure, I think it's one of the things that they were the first people to do like actual play content. I'm pretty sure, and a lot of the credit gets given to Critical Role because they really took off for like a lot of reasons. But you know, they were doing D&D as theater a long time before that, like almost a full decade before Critical Role came together.
Yeah. And it was like,
go ahead.
And similarly for me in the position of a DM, like to see that our Lord and Savior Chris Perkins was like DMing with very similar cadence and like level of detail that I did, and just sort of ran a campaign very similar to me, was like, oh, I'm playing this game right. But just like seeing your style represented in people that others are willing to watch just can be very cool.
Totally. It
like
can be
me.
confidence building.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so my character isn't stupid. That voice isn't dumb. that choice I made, or the way that I used that ability, or that thing that I did last week, it's just like this. So it's very comforting. I think
the confidence aspect is also an important takeaway for people looking to be, you know, more confident in their choices at the table, because being timid doesn't help anybody. You know, even if you're at a hobby table where you're not streaming it. Strong choices, take off your shirt, is what we have always said in our audition advice, which I realize now, saying to the greater internet, I don't think you're going to get it. But Emily, do you want to explain what that means?
The Emily Floyd School of Acting has two rules: make choices and take off your shirt. And that was derived as an oversimplification of the conservatory-style theatrical education that Anne Richmond and I received.
That's true.
Basically boiling it down to the top principles, which are, I mean, I guess if I wanted to be way more PC about it, I would say make strong choices and be brave. But like, it's also a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that in the theater community, if you make a brave choice like taking off your shirt, you get rewarded for it. Every time. I have tested it in so many situations where it was completely not appropriate, and it still got rewarded. Like
I think you could even, just in case that like just that you can't get past the idea of like the taking off of the shirt. If you took off your shoe in the middle of a monologue and brandished it, it would have the same effect. It just is something weird that most people wouldn't do that makes you memorable.
Yeah, doing something weird and unexpected is the take off your shirt is the tongue-in-cheek reference to that. So
so anyways, that's neither here nor there. But it is important. Do it at your tables. You know, metaphorically, I suppose.
Metaphorically.
Unless that's your table. We always talk about how, you know,
I definitely mean I did it metaphorically at auditions and not.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Uh-huh.
just I mean, listen. Okay, moving on. So when people take inspiration from these games, whether it's through what class they're gonna choose or like the vibe of their character, like I think a lot of people get nervous that if they take inspiration from a scenario or an encounter that they see in an actual play, that it is quote unquote plagiarism. Please discuss.
I mean, the thing is that like Dungeons and Dragons in and of itself is all about like living out your like whatever fantasy you want, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, you made an elven ranger, you're plagiarizing Lord of the Rings. It's like, whatever, man.
You're trying to be Legolas.
Yeah, you want to be
Yeah,
Legolas in
I
Dungeons
am.
and Dragons?
I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna surf down a shield. That's pretty high acrobatics, but I'm gonna do it. But
I'm
like,
gonna do
there's
it.
no original ideas. Like, come on now. Like, if you're not like, even like if you want to like reenact Critical Role at your table, Godspeed. Like, I don't care. Like, what does that even matter? Like, I don't know. It's just my disgust is like, it doesn't matter where you get your inspiration from. If that's something that brings you passion and strength and confidence, then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm reminded of a time I was making a character for like a radio show that I was doing, and I don't remember the specifics, but I feel like I remember describing like my character concept, and then you were like, "Oh, it's like such and such," like referenced. It was basically the thing I invented in my brain that I thought was super cool and original.
Was a thing.
Was literally already like an archetype from an actual play that maybe it was Critical Role.
I'm so sorry.
Remember.
Now I feel like an asshole.
No, but like the reason I bring it up is to be like, there's a billion combinations in the world, right? But in the same way that like every story is just Shakespeare, like like there's so many, there's only so many like truly original character concepts.
Yeah, if you spend your time trying to think how you're gonna outthink everybody else, you're not gonna be thinking at all.
Yeah, like if you're just trying to show up at the table with like the most unexpected anti-archetypal character, like I don't know, that's like a very strange thing to put it's a very strange basket to put all your eggs in, I feel. When there's
Don't put all your dice in that bag. No, that sounded weirdly sexual too. God damn it, Anne. Yeah. Well, I think I guess like, are we ready to make a call individually as to whether we think?
I didn't know there was calls to be made.
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I guess we're debating. It's supposed to be a debate.
Being very civil.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was supposed to be a debate. I'm just here to make friends.
It says right here in the title of the show.
When I tuned in, that wasn't the title.
Fuck you, Chris.
Oh, the title changed?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Like an hour ago.
I was so enthralled.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I think for me, actual plays are a tool, but you should never place so much pressure on them to be. This is another thing I guess that we should just talk about. Like when people are saying like, oh, they refer to actual plays as like an example. They totally are, but they're also run by, oh my God, you guessed it, human beings who are capable of user error and mistakes, or also just decisions to have a different house rule. So if you're watching something and then you want to argue with your DM that something doesn't work that way because you saw something on Ack Inc. and it didn't work like that, like that's not an excuse. Like you still need to look up rules, and also it's their table. If somebody messes something up, like how many times have you had to look up what your spells do, or your I think holding actual players and game masters to this fire of you must be perfect all the time because I am watching you is so stupid, because it's just not human. Yes, they should, be able to confidently move through the story, right, and tell an entertaining story that is guided by lamppost rules. But if they get it wrong, all this is to say is please be forgiving to me when I run Starfinder tomorrow at noon, because I've played that game a lot. But Starfinder and Pathfinder are very crunchy systems, and they can be very difficult to run on stream.
I guess my opinion is basically that.
Oh, sorry.
My opinion is basically that, where it's like, as long as everyone at the table is having fun, there is no wrong way to play Dungeons and Dragons or any tabletop thing at all. And it's funny how like I wouldn't even have thought of making this comparison in a million years, but obviously sports or like watching someone play. If you watch professional baseball and then you play baseball with your buddies in the park, are any of you going to play like those guys? Maybe not. But as long as you're having fun, it doesn't really matter. You watch a competitive Counter-Strike game on Twitch, and then you go play Counter-Strike, you're not going to be as good as those guys. But as long as you have fun, it doesn't matter. And it's exactly the same. Like your fun can't be wrong. So it's good for inspiration, and do with it what you will.
If it inspires you to do something, you wouldn't have naturally done, then great. Like the fact that I went from playing characters that were like all sunshine all the time to playing characters that like sometimes were sunshine and other times were like driven by PTSD and D. All of these things are valid, but if I take inspiration from groups that are willing to, quote unquote go there, as long as that's something that the rest of the table wants to engage in, then that's great. And it doesn't matter where you are inspired to do that. Like everyone is constantly learning. I don't know. I have a puppy and I feel like he's a sponge to the world. Like no matter what is around him, he is always learning. And I don't think that we should just I think a lot of people discount learning from actual plays because nerd culture is all about like hierarchy and placement and knowing more than other people traditionally. I don't think that's what it actually is about, but I think traditionally that's what it's been about. So if somebody else is successful at something that you wish you were successful at, a lot of times people in nerd culture will be like, let me take them down a peg, because how dare they do something I didn't think to do or wasn't capable of doing at that level. Maybe I've gotten off the plot, but
no.
I think it's related. Emily, thoughts?
Does actual play content make you a better player? The supposition that one can be a better player.
Oh boy. At all
indicates that one can be a good player or a bad player. And at the end of the day, whatever bakes your cookies.
Oh, that's the end of that's the end of your sentence. Okay.
That's the end of my sentence.
I was like, at the end of the day, aren't we just players? A little bit. Yeah, I don't know if I totally agree with that. I think it's too kind. But I appreciate your willingness to be kind.
I think the asterisk is as long as everyone's
unless
having
you're
fun.
a dick.
No, as long as everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's the asterisk.
That fixed it.
Yeah.
That totally fixed it.
As long as everyone's having fun.
Because I do think there are. How do I want to say this? I do think there are toxic players. I do think a toxic player is sometimes a player who just needs to be shown a different way. But because we have kind of like a social contract around hobby games, people don't feel it's necessarily their job to have to put up with that toxic player until they get their shit together. Because, you should not play bad. No D&D is better than bad D&D, quote unquote. I do think that, we're talking in general about can you learn from actual plays? Sure. But I also think the greater question is learning to be better something people care about? And if you are someone who answers that question with yes, then you are probably doing great. And that's our show for tonight.
Well, all right.
It's a good transition.
I don't know if there's any more we can say. Well, Know It All says, I feel attacked. Do you not feel that you could be better? Yeah. Well, guys, this has been super fun. Does anybody have anything they want to shout out before we wrap things up for the day?
8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Q Times. It's the Mage Show.
The Mage Show featuring Emily Floyd. Nowhere of rules.
Order across New York. Don't ask me to tell you how to play Mage.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't figured it out yet, but
but come watch you play Mage.
Try.
Hey, Well, you really sold me on it, Emily. You really sold me on it.
Really cool.
I mean, that's true.
She does look cool.
Yeah. You look cool all the time.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah. The first one's free. No, I'm kidding. That's way after the first one.
I was about to say, how long are you guys been friends?
When friends compliment each other, it's just all the time. Chris, anything you want to shout out?
I don't know those things. You two. That's all I had to
Cool.
shout out.
Yeah.
I'm here to empower
these ladies.
I'm here to empower women. Watch their stuff.
Amazing. Amazing. You should. I will say coming through chat occasionally has been a link for Eldritch Foundry. I am now an affiliate of Eldritch Foundry. They are an awesome company that basically does custom miniatures and character design. It is well worth checking out. My patrons get a 15% off a voucher for an STL, which is a digital download to 3D print your miniature once you've made it. So right now they are doing a sign up for our newsletter deal, where if you sign up for the newsletter in the next 48 hours, you just get a free STL, so a free download of your custom miniature to send somewhere to 3D print or 3D print at home, if that is something you have available to you. So I just put the link in chat one last time. Please consider it. If you want to support content like this, consider joining my Patreon. We have awesome content coming out early, so all of my videos, if they come out early, then I will put them there for folks. There are custom magical items. There is a patron-only D&D game, which Chris has played in now, and so yeah, it's a really good time. I'm so glad. Yeah, please advertise for me. Don't take my word for it. Take this dope ass friend's word for it. It's dope.
Do you like adventure in a persistent universe with lots of Anne Richmond inserts?
Wait. It's true, though. It's true. What if one of those inserts was a skeletal horse? You do with that what you will in your own minds. Yeah. The other thing that you need to be aware of, and I'm going to show the video one last time before we leave, is that this whole weekend I will be having Starfinder and Pathfinder games on the channel. You will see kicking off the event a game tomorrow at noon, which I need to, after I walk my dog, finish prepping, which is a table of Starfinder with myself, Sydney Emanuel, Eric Mona from Paizo, who else? Kaya, Amara, and a bunch of our auction winners, and Red Mage Ray, all playing Starfinder tomorrow, followed by Matthew Capodicasa from the Glass Cannon, Matthew Lillard, man, who else is in that game? Oh, Waffles of Waffles and Syrup is going to be running the game. Those are just the first two games, and it just keeps getting more crazy throughout the weekend. So the next 3 days, there will be on this channel 4 actual plays a day, some Pathfinder, some Starfinder. Please come check it out. It's all to support Jasper's Game Day, which is a charity that does a lot of amazing work to do, all to do with suicide prevention and awareness, which is something that I care super deeply about, and I know a lot of this community does too. So please come check it out. If you want to learn more, you're going to find out in 3, 2, 1. Bye, guys. Welcome to Jasper's Game Week on Hearthsinger Games. I'm your host, Anne Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge round these parts, and my Twitch and YouTube channels provide weekly TTRPG content with advice, news, and actual plays. You might also know me from the Lost Mountain Saga podcast, my work with the Glass Cannon Network, or the Starfound podcast. May 8th through 10th, I'm partnering with Paizo and awesome folks from all around the tabletop RPG community to bring you 4 incredible Pathfinder and Starfinder stories each day from noon to 1:30 a.m. Eastern, all in support of an amazing cause. Jasper's Game Day is a 501c3 charity that supports suicide prevention and awareness efforts. And their goal is to invest your donations in services that work to prevent suicide before it happens, rather than simply responding to the devastating aftermath. In the past, they have mobilized donations to support the American Association of Suicidology. They've rescued a teen suicide hotline that was going to have to shut its doors. They've donated to Lighthouse for Veterans and a crisis center with a focus on assisting minorities and girls at risk in the DC area. And starting now, we'll be raising donations for Jasper's Game Day at the address on the screen, right here, until May 11th. So please give generously if you're able to and help to spread the word. Here on my channel, I will be hosting some amazing storytellers for 3 days straight. You'll enjoy killer combos of all of your favorite players and game masters from Actual Play podcast and Twitch streams, joined by our auction seat winners who have already supported Jasper's Game Day with thousands of dollars in donations just for the opportunity to join the fray. You'll even find me running and playing a few games myself. So make sure to give me a follow on Twitch to support content like this being made in the future. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can explore the VODs for any games you might have missed during the event. You guys didn't think I was going to send you on a quest without offering you some fat loot in return. Why am I becoming a Skeksis? I've been working my little butt off to make sure that there will be plenty of chances for you out there watching to win giveaways during every show. There will be beginner box giveaways for Starfinder and Pathfinder from Paizo to help you tell your own stories at home. There will be STL vouchers from my friends over at Eldritch Foundry to help you bring your own characters to life as stunning customized miniatures, and Acquisitions Incorporated currency tokens from the awesome folks over at Penny Arcade. So tune in for your chance to win and spread the word. So thank you for joining us for this important and joyful celebration of the good we can do when we play together. Now get out there and live your quest life.